Okay, today we are going to take a look at color theory, which is one of my favorite things. So, for the first day, I thought it would be fun to talk a little bit about how watercolors are layered, because we are going to work on those quite a bit. And there's a learning process to them, so I thought I would go over and help you understand that a little bit better. So what we're going to do first is we're going to just have a sheet of watercolor paper. I just use a little bit of washi tape just to tack it down a little bit because I didn't want it to buckle. And then we're going to play with some colors, and we're going to talk about some color mixing, about a little bit about the color wheel, and then I'm going to show you quickly what happens when you layer the colors on top of each other. Whew, all that in about 15 minutes. So this is the fastest color theory lesson you've ever had. So let's get down to it. Okay, so I have a full set here of Inktense watercolors. They're not really watercolors. They're concentrated ink in like a watercolor style palette. I like these most of the time better than watercolors because they are very, very bright and intense. Watercolors tend to be very translucent, and then they dull down as they dry. So this kind of saves me a couple of steps and keeps them quite vibrant. These are pure watercolors. These are Daniel Smith watercolors. So what happens if you have a very small set such as this, and you have a very limited palette, and you don't have quite as many colors as I have? So I'm going to show you exactly what you can do. Let's see. I have this color wheel chart that I made, and I'm very excited because I think this is going to be a future class. But anyway, if you look at the color wheel and you have yellow, directly across you're going to have purple. Okay. And you guys are going to have a picture of this color wheel so that way you can study it. So what we have here is the warm colors, and then we have the cool colors. And real quick, if you mix yellow, red, and blue, then you get the secondaries. And if you mix the secondary and the primary, you get the tertiary. I'm going to have that all written down and you can study it. And you can even look up a YouTube video to do that in greater detail, but we're just going to just touch on it today. So what happens if you have this limited color palette? That means you have to make your own colors. And it's not a big deal, because if you have yellow and blue and red, which all color sets should have, don't buy one if it doesn't have those, you should be able to mix any color that you want. So let's do that. So what we're gonna do is, I'm gonna take a medium-sized brush. This is the number 6, and I've got some water here. And then real quickly, I'm just gonna throw down some water on the paper, just wherever, kind of in a line across here. And I'm gonna go into the yellow and splash some on there. And then I'm gonna go into the red. And then I'm gonna go into the blue. And what you guys are gonna see is these are not all perfect colors. These are great primaries, the red, the yellow, the red, and the blue. They are really good primaries, but what happens when you mix them is this is a cooler red and a warmer blue, and you get kind of a muddied purple. And then let's get some clean water. And then with the yellow and this red, you kind of get a little bit of a muddied orange. So sometimes the color mixing is not perfect if you don't have warm colors and cool colors. I like to have a base of a warm yellow and a warm red and a cool red and a cool blue. So what I'm talking about is this yellow, if you have a warm yellow, because this is the warm side, is going to make a better orange with this warm red. So if you have two warms, it's going to make the best orange. This is going towards the cooler side of the color wheel. So if you have a cool red and a cool blue, that's going to make the best purple, which is not this situation here. You can see that's muddied. This is a nice vibrant purple. So excuse me, you have to have a cool red and a cool blue. And as the blue goes towards the warm side, you need the warmer red color, the ones that have more green in the blue and like a teal. And then if you have the cool yellow, that's gonna make the best greens. So it gets quite tricky and it takes a little bit of practice, but you still can make your own colors with whatever you have. So just play around with what you do have. For instance, this, I can see teal here in this one. And then if I mix it with yellow, that's a nice green. I like that green. So you have to just play around with your colors and go ahead and take every single color that you have, whatever palette that you have, and go ahead and mix them up and try and make colors in the color wheel. Okay, so you guys are gonna play with that for today. Make your own colors. Just see how it spreads across the page. I'm gonna wipe that up because it's really wet. And we're gonna talk about layering real quick. So I'm just going to make a circle with a thing of tape. And we are going to play with a sphere because you can layer it quite well within a circle and show how to do value with just some layers. All right, so if this was a ball, a sphere, there say would be a shadow with a highlight here and then shadows underneath. So we're going to fudge it a little bit and pretend that there's a light source coming down. So let's pick a color. You guys can pick any color you want, but what you're going to do is you are going to just make a little puddle of paint. I think I'm going to go with, oh, let's see, I like this blue. So you can, make sure this is on camera, make a puddle of paint like this. All right, that's enough color. And then you're gonna add some water to one side of it, and that will be a little bit more diluted over here. If you don't have one of these palette areas, see this one comes with a little palette area as well. You can use some kind of like wax paper or like a waxed paper plate, something that is not paper, or put a piece of plastic over a paper plate and wrap the plastic over, but you need a little bit of painting area. So I'm going to take a little bit of the diluted blue, just a little tiny bit, and I'm going to put a very thin coat of blue in that sphere. So you guys can try this at home. And this will teach you how to layer the watercolors because this is not like paint at all. It is translucent. It's meant to show all the layers underneath. So when I wrote that little highlight there, that's going to show forever. So whatever you put underneath, make sure that you want it to be there. So this is the tricky part about watercolors, and this is what happens with lots of beginners. Oh my gosh, did you see how beautiful this is over here? How it's just blending together? I have one of those, what's it called? In that movie, Away or Home or something, and the dog sees a squirrel and it's squirrel. That's me with paint. I'm always like noticing all these cool little things that happen as things dry. Anyway, so the thing with watercolors is if you are a beginner, you want to just paint. So if you have a bouquet of flowers and you're doing the flowers and you're putting paint on top of it, on top of it, on top of it, and it's not dry yet. So every time you put it on top, you're not letting it dry and it all just muddles together and then you get gray or brown and it doesn't look so good. So this is the #1 tip about watercolors. You have to let things dry. This is still wet. We don't want it to dry completely because we are gonna layer it, but you just have to let things settle. It's very, very much a patience game. We're gonna talk about some things that is not a patience game, like the wet on wet technique that we'll do, I think, tomorrow. But you get to just keep putting paint on, and it's a lot of fun. So we're gonna take some of this diluted blue again, and we're gonna go over just where that shadow would be. So a little bit here as it comes around, and we'll put another layer on top. Okay. So again, this has to dry a little bit. Let it settle. Now, what you could do, and this is two different styles. This is what we're letting dry, and you're going to see a line exactly where that's going to dry. If we wanted to get a little crazy and add some of the more concentrated blue and let it bleed in, you can do things like that. So we're going to get some more concentrated blue and just move our paintbrush around underneath and then layer that on top. And that's going to dry real pretty. And so you can put that layer on top, but what I was almost going to do was I was going to rinse my brush, and I was going to take a wet paint brush and I was going to move that paint. So I will show you what happens, because if you liked this blue that you put on top, this is not what you want to do. When I touch this, it's going to create some surface tension and it's going to make a ring. And then this is when beginners go, oh my gosh, what happened? Because now I've got white there because I have a splash of water that's gone out. So that's what happens if you don't wait, or you take a wet brush and you put it in there. So play with it. Go ahead and put a wet brush in there, see what happens. Let it dry a little bit, add some more concentrated paint. Let it dry completely, put another layer on top, and just see what happens. And try to mix some colors together off the basic color wheel. And then just with your paints to figure out what your paints look like. You could even just do every single color and just see what it looks like on paper, on white paper, because it definitely looks different on white paper than it does in your palettes. And then after you experiment with your colors, make sure that you do a little circle, and then try and do a little sphere, little highlight there, and let it dry, see what it looks like, and have a little bit of patience, and try a little wet on wet and let it bleed out and see what happens. If you want to share your work, go ahead and post it on Instagram with the hashtag #PaintWithYoli. Or you can always email me your example and I'll check it out. All right, we'll see you tomorrow.